Well, folks, thank you all for coming. Bob had other familial obligations tonight, and he couldn't be here. They're very important, or he would. So it appears you're stuck with me. Now, of course, I'd issued a lot of executive orders this afternoon, but Elena said I couldn't do that, so we'll just have to go by the book. So, Pastor, have you got a message for us? Please step forward.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
In Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 13, it says, "He will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your land, your grain and your new wines and your oils, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flocks, in the land which he swore to your fathers to give you." So, Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, we want to thank you for the honor and privilege that we have each and every day of living in such a great country. Lord, bless Illinois, and we pray that you would especially bless our county. And we pray for those that are sitting before us tonight that make up the Livingston County Board. Impart to them wisdom and insight and unity in their efforts and decisions of the issues that are before them tonight. Bless them and their families as they serve us, and meet all of their needs according to your riches and glory. We want to thank you for the good harvest this year, and we ask that you would continue to bless the businesses, the industries, the schools, and the communities of our county. Bring a blessing to each and every family that calls Livingston County their home, and help us to be the citizens that we should be in order for our county, state, and nation to be a blessing even more than it already is. May we determine within ourselves to be a part of the solution to the problems that face our world at this time. Let love and understanding and peace cover our great nation, and help us all to come together as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let not there be divisions. And tonight we acknowledge our need for your presence in our daily lives. And may that same presence help us all to be the people that you've created us to be. Let your hand be upon our future, and may it always be bright. And we pray these things in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you. Vicki, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, ma'am.
Fietti.
Yes.
Bunning.
Present.
Flagel.
Present.
Ingalls.
Present.
Station. Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Present.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Present.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen. Arbogast.
Here.
Weller.
Here.
Ambrose.
Here.
Carly.
Present.
Holt.
Here.
Runyon.
Here.
Mays.
Here.
Heath.
Here.
Weber. Young. Yoder.
Here.
Fannin.
Here.
Okay. Folks, you've been provided an agenda. There's only one change to that, and under the consent agenda, we are not going to appoint anybody to the Planning Commission tonight. Other than that, I think everything is going to transpire as it appears on that page. So I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Bunning, second by Fannin. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Oh, roll
Aye.
call. Opposed, same sign. Cool, good. Minutes. Anybody got an opinion on the minutes? Motion by Ingalls to approve, second by Mr. Ritter. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Who made that motion?
Michael,
Thank you.
there you go. Consent agenda. We've got 2 full-time transport officers and appointment of Cheryl Tate to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there a motion in that regard? Motion by Mr. Kestner. Second by Mr. Killian. Any discussion?
There is no discussion on consent agenda.
Thus, the nature of consent agenda. Thank you, Martin. I knew I'd get something pointed out to me. Thank you. All those in favor, roll call. I apologize.
Piety. Yes. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle. Yes. Ingalls.
Yes.
Dyson. Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Yes. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast. Yes. Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Yes. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Young. Yoder.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Thank you. Jason, will report on highways?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one action item to bring before the full committee today. It's a resolution extending the temporary amendment of Exhibit A, Resolution Number 2016-11-65 for the oversized overweight vehicle fees. Clay is not here tonight because he is at their fall meeting of the county engineers, so I will take any questions that anybody may have. So it is the same thing that we have done the last couple of years. We've been doing it on a year-by-year basis, giving us the opportunity in the spring to summertime to look at the county roads that are getting used for feed and garbage and fuel and milk and stuff to come. We're as a committee discussing about changing it from a 1 year to a 3 year possibly, but this is just going to be a 1 year extension. Questions? If there are no questions, I will move. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Jason, you mentioned that you were thinking about moving into a 3 year. What would the advantage or purpose be behind that?
There would really be no reason for it. I mean, we other than a formality to come here every year. As Clay and Trent have traveled the roads here in the spring and summertime, they are not seeing any damage taking place from the thaw law that we so-called have during the winter months. So it's just a discussion, but we're gonna keep it at the year basis for now, Paul. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will move it, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Bunning, second by Runyon. And that is a roll call vote.
Piety.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Dyson. Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast. Yes. Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young. Yoder.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
That is all I have.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Holt, Agriculture and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no action items tonight. What we did talk about at our meeting is that there was a proposed DG Illinois solar farm presented, information on it. At our next meeting, we'll be voting on the Vermilion 1 and Vermilion 2 solar farms. We had an update on small cell wireless facilities. The update on the landfills. We voted on the DevNet permitting and zoning program, voted to approve that. And we also heard about a proposed swine building that was brought to us before, but it's out of our control, so we just heard about it. We also were introduced to Chris Bunting, who's the Livingston County Farm Bureau Manager. On November 14th, there is planned a special meeting of the Ag Committee at 6 p.m. To basically vote on a solar farm application. That's my report.
Well, thank you, Darrell. Next up is Finance. That'll be me. Oh, there you go. Two items that are A and B that directly, one flows from the other. One's an ordinance amending the street or enterprise zone to include some additional communities. The zone expanded just a little bit, gives us some advantages on some properties. And the other is attendant to that is, Adam, I saw you here. Would you have any comment in that regard on either of those agreements? We discussed them at finance pretty thoroughly. He made a real good presentation. What their purpose is to allow us to accommodate some, what we believe are some substantial properties that are in our county, and that's what puts them in the, able to put them in the enterprise zone, and hopefully inures to our benefit. No guarantees, but our position is that we think that there's some potential here and worthy of pursuit. So we're trying to pursue that. So that's what I have to say about that. I would.
Motion to approve?
Mr. Ingles motions to approve, and these are
Second.
together. Second by Mr. Fannin. Discussion?
A and B both.
Who made
Yes,
the-
sir.
A and B? It was- Who made the motion? Ingalls and second?
And Marty?
Ingalls, Bannon.
Speak into your microphone so she can hear you.
Well, roll call vote on that. Ma'am?
Piety. Yes. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner. Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Yes. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast. Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Yes. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
I wasn't ready.
Okay. On item C is the, during the last year, every year, the folks involved, our staff, Ginger, Diane, Elena, put a lot of effort in the budget. The folks directly impacted, the department heads and elected officials do as well. This year took a little different tack, and what I believe an improved product, much improved actually, as regards for people who take the time to read it. And to introduce that, I wish we had our audio-visual stuff working, but that's not the case. But Diane, could you explain some more about that?
Mr. Chairman,
Ma'am.
the items that she's going to be reviewing today are actually on your desks as
Okay,
well.
cool.
We're presenting the budget night tonight to be, to sit for a month until it is approved fully before the first of the year. I'm just going to talk about some highlights that are in this new budget. In the transmittal letter, we talk about some of the goals that the board had, and that's what was steering what we did with the budget this year. One of the goals was to maintain or reduce the current county tax rate. And as you can see from the levy worksheet, which is on page 49, our rate has been pretty consistent over the past 5 years, and this year's rate was coming in at 1.1773. The rate at the time of the budget in 2018 was 1.1967. It's important to note that the equalized assessed value is going up each year. Some people will be paying more in taxes even though the rate is staying relatively the same or going down. So not everyone will see a reduction in their taxes, and some people may see them go up. It's also important to note that this year, the amount that we are able to levy is limited by PTEL, the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law. So the amount that is actually collected for, that we are asking for this year, may be reduced by $65,964. This is not an issue, as we were able to also accomplish the second goal, which was to reduce the general fund functional deficit by $800,000 over 3 years. This is the second year, and the general fund functional deficit was not to exceed $1,466,000. The capital budget is on page 188, which is at the end of the budget, and it shows the specific amounts that are tied to this cap. The approved capital requests were $479,518. There's a transfer to the vehicle fund for $359,100, and then the transfer to the general fund of $551,384, which is a total of $1,390,000, or $390,002. This is under the goal by $75,998, and this amount exceeds the amount that we could be limited by the PTEL. Last year, the approved capital requests were $655,395. The transfer to the vehicle fund was $359,100, and the transfer to the general fund last year was $693,785, for a total of $1,708,280. So that was reduced by over $300,000. And you can see that in the balancing worksheet that is in the budget summaries, and that is on page 45. We have years of how we've balanced the general fund budget, so you can see what we have transferred every year into the general fund from the host fund. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about those summaries, which are in the budget. The highlights of our revenue and expenses are noted in the transmittal letter that is at the very beginning, which is pages 3 through 4, or 3 through 6, sorry. Or it could be 1 through 4. I'm not really sure what your page numbers are because we've renumbered.
Or 1 through 4.
1 through 4, okay, thank you. Sorry. So in the, we put a summary of our personnel expenses are contained in an attachment to the transmittal letter. The personnel expenses represent the largest portion of the expense across all funds, which is 41%. I also noted, it's also noted in the transmittal letter now that the personnel expenses in the general fund account for 71% of our expenses. Revenue and expenses in the general fund are contained in the budget summaries section on pages 46 through 48, and these are listed by department. Revenue and expenses across all funds are contained in the same section on pages 41 and 42, and these summaries are listed by fund and also separated, the revenues and expenses are separated by type. So you can see personnel expenses and non-personnel expenses, and then the revenues are fees or grants or the other types of revenue that we can receive. Our revenue across all funds is $24,369,181, which is the total revenue less the transfers. And our expenditures across all funds is $32,749,221. This represents a budget deficit of approximately $8.4 million. This deficit is attributed to the following. There's $5 million budgeted this year for the new health and education building. There's approximately $1.3 million carried over in the capital budget. Those are expenses that were approved and budgeted in 2018 and not yet expended. There's an approximately $1.1 million previously committed and dedicated to the GLC EDC, which is paid out of the enterprise zone. But those are expenses that that are carried over that we know are going to be expended at some point. Lastly, the ending fund balances for all funds are shown on page 43. And the drop in the total fund balance is expected based on the expenses that I just mentioned that were bringing the deficit to what it was. This budget was prepared with 2 goals in mind. One was to present a document that's easy to read and understand, and the second was to present a document that the board can use to meet goals and objectives of providing quality service levels at the lowest cost to citizens. I know that all of us on the administrative team have worked hard to achieve these goals and are pleased to present the fiscal year 2019 budget for approval.
Thank you. Good. Quick note, that which is characterized as a deficit, we already have in our landfill and construction accounts monies to cover those, so people don't walk away with the impression that we're 8 million short of what we said we had. So, yes, we'll get that out of the way right now, so we don't get a question about that. Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Mr. Fannin. Second by Mr. Holt. Roll call vote. Pardon? I thought that would be in the point of question, but go right ahead, Carolyn.
No, I don't have a question, but I do have discussion. I want to...
We don't want a commentary.
Want to explain that I'll be voting no. One reason is because there's a $5 million capital expenditure listed that we haven't actually decided to do. We've approved things, the board has approved things to move in that direction, but we really haven't had a full discussion of whether we need a new building, in my opinion. And I would urge my fellow board members to talk to their citizens and to the people who work in the building to see if you really truly believe that a new building is needed at this time. And also, there are still a few things in here that are a little bit on the fatty side, I would say. And the main reason I wanted to have a comment is because I've been studying our budgets for the last few years, and we've had this great goal, and we've made this goal of keeping the rate the same. However, next year I would like to consider, I would throw out for your consideration a goal of keeping our expenditures the same, our actual extension, I guess is the correct term.
Your appropriation?
Our appropriations, thank you. The appropriations the same. City of Pontiac, the way they've been doing it, they've been keeping their appropriations the same, so their rate does bounce up and down a little bit. But that's really, at the end of the day, one of the things that's very important is how much are we spending? We have great income, we have more sources of income, and yet we still seem to be having to be at the same rate. Our rate should be going down. And this would help us be more competitive, and I just heard from a local realtor how our tax rates are impeding our real estate market and even hiring decisions from the employees who are being offered positions here in the county. So that is the direction I'd like to see us go, is to try to actually reduce our rate, and we can do so by focusing on the amount of money we're actually spending. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I just want to clarify, this vote we're taking, all we're doing is accepting this budget for public viewing this month, right? The final vote won't be till next month. I just want to clarify that.
Yep. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll roll call it.
Vietti.
Yes.
Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yeah.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
Nope.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Yes. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays. No. Heath.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
And Fannin.
Yes.
Okay. Diane Blank, you, bless your heart. Thanks very much. Okay, Barb?
I believe you have before you a resolution prepared by the county trustee. This resolution involves delinquent property taxes on a mobile home in Creek Ridge up in South Streeter. The trustee had begun the process of taking title to the mobile home to sell it at our sale bid auction when a representative for the owner begged and pleaded, "Can I please redeem the taxes past the extension date?" And it behooves us to accept the funds that they are providing for redemption, because then we get full tax money, fees, and costs. So I'm asking you to approve a resolution which authorizes the cancellation of the tax certificate of purchase and accept the full redemption value of the delinquent taxes.
Because by accepting the full redemption value, we get more money than we would have otherwise.
Right, it
So
would be
this-
like a $700 to sell the mobile home
Yep.
at the
Yep.
seal bid auction, but this way we're getting the full tax
Yes,
money and
ma'am.
everything else.
Good work. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Mr. Fannin?
I'll
by-
second that.
Mrs. Arbogast was already there, so. Any other discussion? Roll call, ma'am.
Vieti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Irwin. Yes. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Yes. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb, very much. Next two items are from the clerk's office. Both are a function of study that was commissioned by the office to see whether or not there was warranted increases in fees to help, in part, defray the cost of the office. And Christie, do you have any comments on those?
We hadn't done a fee cost study since 2002, so that was one reason. But the main reason was that we have to have a predictable fee schedule in place for our recording documents effective January 1st of 2019. So we incorporated that in with this. There's a chart that showed the proposed fees that each member should have received. Also, Shelley was looking at increasing the GIS fees because they were looking at wanting to do more flyovers, so we had the cost study done for their office too, and it was all incorporated into one fee. And we paid for part of it out of the GIS fee fund, as well as my recording fund, and some out of the vital record automation fund.
Okay. And the attendant little predictable fee schedule for Livingston County Clerk, the other resolution, that, that's kind of a mandatory thing?
Every so often we go through, and what Bellwether did was they came in and they reviewed what our expenses were, what the cost is for like a security paper, and they take into account the employees and the salaries that are being paid. They go and they figure out what the percentage is that the employees are working on these different jobs, and kind of cost that out too, and then come up with this final increase.
Okay. So you're an endorser of both these?
Yes.
Good, cool. Is there a motion to approve those? So moved by Jason Bunning. Is there a second by Dave Heath? I see. Yes, I did see. Okay,
We did
any
have that.
discussion?
Okay, these will have to be two separate
Okay.
roll calls for them, so this first one will be for the fees for the county clerk's office.
Good.
Okay, Vieti? Yes. Bunning?
Yes.
Slagle?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Kestner? Ritter?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Lovell?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Arbogast?
Yes.
Weller? Ambrose?
Yes.
Carly? Holt?
Yes.
Runyon?
Yes.
Mays?
Yes.
Heath?
Yes.
Yoder?
Yes.
Bannon?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Will the same pair be willing to do it for our second?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Vieti? Bunning?
Yes.
Slagle?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Kestner?
Yes.
Ritter?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Lovell? Allen?
Yes.
Arbogast?
Yes.
Weller? Ambrose?
Yes.
Carly? Yes. Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Christie. Last resolution is the increase in the public defender's salary. This is reimbursed by the state of Illinois. If we don't approve it, they don't reimburse us, so that wouldn't be very good. Is there a motion, Mr. Ingles? Yes.
Absolutely.
Second by Mr. Bunning? Yep. Good. Any discussion about that?
Mr. Chairman, this is set by
Yes.
statute.
This is not
It
something
has to
we're
be a
just
certain
idly
percentage
doing, but
of
we're-
the state's attorney's salary, and
Yep.
since he got a raise, the public defender gets a raise.
Yes.
That's what
It's
this
not
boils
something
down
we
to.
just came up with on our own. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Just wanted to point that out.
And that's an excellent point. Discussion? Great. Roll call.
Beatty. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian. Kestner. Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Yes. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Good. Thanks to the finance staff, personnel staff for making the budget work. Thank you. It's time to move on. Mr. Public Property.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two items for the board's consideration. The county's farm ground at the old Livingston Manor site and adjacent to the H&E building, the current leases had expired. We put out bids, or requests for bids, on both of those properties, and the highest bid, to the benefit of the county, was $307.50 per acre, total annual rent $68,477.18. That was submitted by Gene and Jeff Ledford. Standard 3-year lease, terms and everything that have been there for years. With that, I would make a motion that that be approved.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Fannin. Is there any discussion on that?
How many bids we have?
Yeah, I have a question on the property where we do now farm, where the building stood. Do we have plans to start clearing the rest of that out, the trees and stuff? Because in part of this, it says you cannot cut trees or whatever, or we're gonna leave up the
You're talking
windbreak?
about the old Livingston Manor site. I don't think there's any plans to clear any additional ground right now, no.
Okay.
Darrell had a question. How many bids did we have?
Well, we had 5, but 2 of them were from basically the same people. One was a corporation, one was individual.
okay.
They're identical, so we had 4 bids.
Okay, cool.
I think also that the ground there where the nursing home was, part of that is being farmed that wasn't farmed before.
Yep.
I think Bob worked that out with a farmer to
It's the same
follow
guy.
that up and farm it.
The
See
same
how
guy
it turned
now.
out.
Okay.
They didn't take the trees down, but they are farming more, some of that ground that was grass.
Right, no, they're farming additional acreage, but no tree removal or anything, yeah.
One change, right?
307 and 50 cents.
That's on the sheet.
That's an increase over the current lease that's expiring.
Remarkable. Grateful.
And considerably higher, quite frankly, than the other bids.
Considerably.
Boltman. Are you ready to roll call us?
Beatty. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner. Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
The other item for your consideration is emergency roof repairs, or actually replacement, at the, what's commonly called the Regions Bank building, which the county owns, and is leasing a good portion of that building to Mosaic. About 2 weeks ago, Don Verdon, our maintenance supervisor, was notified that they were experiencing some ceiling damage due to roof leaks. Went up, did a quick inspection, and found not only places where shingles were raised up, it looks like sheeting is starting to let loose and pull up. But there was also some soft spots Don was afraid to walk on. He contacted me, and in order to avoid, using a contractor that might be a potential bidder, I went to Farnsworth, who maintains a local office here that day, and they arranged for a preliminary inspection and concurred with Don that the roof was far beyond repair. Doing a little research, that roof was put on in the early 80s. I talked to a contractor who worked for a contractor that did it back in the savings and loan days. At any rate, Farnsworth then sent an engineer architect up and did a more thorough inspection, and I asked them to put together some estimates on both a shingle roof and or industrial or commercial looking metal roof. They did that and submitted a memorandum that I distributed. The estimate, not a bid, the estimate for a shingle roof, including tear-off, underlayment, flashings, and contingency, because nobody will know what's underneath until they tear the roof off, that total was $66,500. Standing seam metal roof, because of the nature of the building and the extent of the runs and a lot of other things, come in at $139,150. So it made the decision, I thought, for the committee pretty easy. You have a resolution in front of you, and the committee earlier this evening approved that $66,500 estimate, as well as fees by Farnsworth not to exceed $18,000. And I know we had a lot of discussion about why so much for a new roof. The fact is, what they will provide are, as opposed to our usual somewhat lengthy process to get requests and process bids, which, whether in front of us isn't in the bid or isn't in the best interest of the county, they'll provide some very specific specifications on materials and application and that sort of thing that they outlined in their memo. They will go out and get requests for proposals or bids from contractors capable of doing the work. They will advise the county on acceptance of the best responsible bidder. They will oversee construction, which may include, and that's why the figure is not to exceed, things that are uncovered, not knowing how much damage. We know there's damage, we just don't know to what extent and what it would take to repair that. And then they'll work through typical commercial construction punch lists and final acceptance. So with that, inserting those amounts into the resolution, I would move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you, Linda. Linda Ambrose seconded. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, we had this discussion previously, and I'm going to state my opinion that we don't need to pay $18,000 to an engineering firm to replace a roof. So I will be voting no.
Any other discussion? Bob? Steve? Bob? Bob Lovell was a guy I used to know from high school.
I would agree with Marty. It's a hip roof, and to spend $18,000 with an architect, that's taxpayer dollars. I think I'll vote no too.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Vietti.
No.
Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
No.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
No.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
No.
Irwin,
No.
Lovell,
No.
Allen. Arbogast,
No.
Weller. Ambrose,
Yes.
Carly. Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
No.
Mays,
No.
Heath,
Yes.
Yoder,
Nope.
Bannon.
No. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve $66,500 to be spent on putting a new roof on the building.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second? Sir?
What was the vote?
Yes. Motion changed as stated, up to $66,500.
Good on the second on that?
6,500 on the roof.
Somebody down here second it?
I second it.
You're good on that, up to, John? Okay.
Yes.
You got that, Christie?
Yes, Bannon and Yoder to spend 66,000, up to 66,500 on a new roof?
Yes.
Close
No.
enough?
Point of clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
Are we approving the resolution that was outlined and on your desks? We're just changing the number to 66,500? That way we can accept the bids and move forward with the
Yes.
emergency repairs?
Yes.
Christie, realizing that that vote failed, what was the number?
8 ayes and 13 nays.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're on that now.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
if we just change the number, we're doing away, is that doing away with the engineering firm, or because the resolution still states engineering firm?
I don't know if that was your question, ma'am.
We can take out that portion too. I just wanted to make sure that we were authorizing the chairman to accept the lowest responsible bid for the project. That was really my point of clarification.
As long as we're taking out the portion about the engineering firm, then I'm okay with it. But if that's still in there, then I'll be voting no on this one too.
We can take that out.
Well, I think it was his intent.
That was my intent, yes.
I figured as
Moving
much.
engineering firm.
Yes, Carolyn?
So just for
6,500
clarification, in the paragraph that reads, that starts now therefore be it resolved.
Yes.
So in the second line, that number 84,500 will be 66,500,
As much as,
up to.
Not
it
to
says
exceed.
Oh, not to exceed,
It
state.
not to
says
exceed.
Not to exceed, for the, and then take out engineering and,
Right, so there'd be a period after fund,
and
and then
then
for,
for the construction costs necessary to complete an emergency replacement.
right, for
et
the
cetera.
engineering
Thank you.
would be removed.
Yeah, Jason?
If the contractor gets into this roof and sees there's way heavier, more damage, then what is our next course of action then if they cannot get it done for $66,500? That's the concern that I've got. Because if they get tore into it and we get to a,
Okay, so under the current resolution, what would we do?
You'd stop the job.
There you go. There's nothing changed, only the number changed.
The 66.5 included a contingency of $6,000
Correct.
for those things.
Right.
I don't know if that's enough, but yeah, we'd have to stop the job.
Okay.
Put the resolution forward saying that, so.
You have a second motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Mr. Fannin,
Yeah?
you made the motion.
Yeah.
Who's going to write the specs to get comparable bids?
I think we could probably ask Mr. Verdon to dig into it and write the specs.
He was asking at the committee meeting, you were there, and he's not comfortable doing that. I mean, he's not an experienced roofer.
Didn't say he was. He's not experienced electrician, he's not experienced plumber, but we all do these things, and those RPs are written, correct?
Well,
Correct?
for ourselves personally, yes, but I guess,
No, I'm talking about for the county.
so you want to ask Mr. Verdon to write the specs?
I'm sure he can find somebody to speak to that will help him with the specs.
Well, you're putting him in a horrible
I'm putting him in a
position.
position to do his job.
No.
No. No.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why we don't have the original specs from 1980?
Well,
We purchased the building in 2003.
Wouldn't all that come with?
Not necessarily.
They just
the
destroy it,
the
or?
specs for the roof, is that what you're talking about? No. I mean, the contractor's deceased. I'm sure the savings loan hired the only commercial roofing contractor. Somebody that worked for him told me that. You know. So, no, you wouldn't, savings loan didn't provide specs, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Carolyn, do you have a question? No? Okay. Well, ready to vote it?
What's the longevity of the current roof that we have? Is it in dire straits?
That roof was put on in 81, 82. It's probably then, architectural shingles were probably either 20 or 25 years, so it's, besides the damage that's there, it's long ago outlived its. As a matter of fact, Don, earlier in discussion, he remembers when one of our maintenance workers had to replace some of the ridge rows and things, which are usually the first to go on a roof, so it's outlived its useful life. Yes.
Sure.
Use your microphone, please.
Yes, ma'am. I don't remember where I heard this, but I understand this roof was inspected or looked at within the past couple of years. Is that true?
I don't know.
You're the head of the property committee, you don't know?
Are you talking about the inspection of the building that was done by our former
It could have
head of
been.
maintenance?
Didn't they inspect the roof too?
I don't know if the roof specifically, he did inspect the building when we were considering selling and/or leasing it and pointed out deficiencies.
Well, I was told that the roof at that time was said to be have 5 to 10 years life left, and then all of a sudden, it's come apart?
If that was said,
Is that what it
you
was?
know, all I know is a 30-year-old roof. I mean, it's obvious. Don's not here, but
Yes, he is.
it was obvious there's, oh, I'm sorry. Don could, he could see or feel structural damage. I mean, there's places he wouldn't walk on it. There's other places where the shingles are being lifted substantially by, it appears, sheeting underneath that's lifted. So 2 years ago, maybe it looked fine, I don't know. The fact is, the roof is beyond its useful life, and it's creating leaks and.
Call the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Are we ready for the roll call?
Yes, ma'am.
Fieri. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
No.
Schaefer.
Yes?
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Yes. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Yes. Holt.
No.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Oops, I'm sorry.
Yoder, yes.
Yoder. And Fannin.
Yes.
Okay. Mike, got anything else?
The suggestion was made that there's enough expertise on the board to provide input to Don on the specs. I would encourage any and every board member that feels they have that expertise to do that, probably via email in the next few days. Because I think we put Don in an untenable position, but if we're gonna be the experts, then let's get that information to him. He can compile it, and we'll figure out how to go out for bids.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Very much. Sheriff and Jail and License, Ron Kestner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our committee met October 2nd here in the courthouse building. It was well attended. We had information from the county coroner wanting an indigent burial policy in writing. I don't know where that is, Alina. Was that all checked out for the state's attorney, wasn't it? The burial policy as a guideline? Still working it, okay. We also had a liquor license application from a tavern named Dam Tavern. I don't know what the status of that. Can we go ahead with that? Okay. And we had our animal control report. We are now housing 129 inmates in our facility. Of the 129, 47 are Livingston County inmates. The jail superintendent did not have financials available at that time for us for the preceding month. We were also informed that there was a couple of changes in the intergovernmental agreement providing school resource officers for Flanagan schools and Cullum Tri-Point schools, and we met before this board meeting. State's attorney informed us of those changes, and we approved that. If there's any questions on the intergovernmental agreements, the state's attorney is here. Does anyone have any questions on that? If not, I'll make a motion that we approve the intergovernmental agreement for Flanagan first and the county board. Is there a second? Mr. Weller seconded.
There, second, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. And Ron, is your intent to cover both those?
Yeah, yeah. Well, separate.
We do, but I mean, let's not,
Yeah, we'll do it separate.
we're all adults, so we can understand there's two motions.
Yeah, thank you.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a statement I'd like to read. Sheriff Childress may be surprised, but I am going to vote yes on the county funding a portion of the school resource officer salaries. I have had many reservations on the county taking on this new outlay of funds when there is an effort by the board to reduce expenses. I have listened to your explanation, Sheriff Childress, on funding. I was concerned with other schools asking for this accommodation also. After talking with Chief Travis of Fairbury and school administrators, I feel confident that the county shouldn't have an influx of schools asking for this assistance. In talking with administrators from a large high school of 2,000 to schools more the size of those in Livingston County, I can see the value of a resource officer is more than just having someone on site if calamity strikes. All of the administrators cited many positives. But one caveat, this contract is only for 1 year. The issue of funding a resource officer still has some potential potholes in the coming years and will have to be financially reevaluated. As I have seen in the short time I've been on the board, it is much harder to stop funding a program than it is to never have started one in the first place. Thank you.
By the way, as a note, both school districts are, of course, supplying, I think, what, 50,000 per district. The sheriff, if we have any more questions. Nice to see you, Tony. But my motion and Mr. Weller's second stands if we want to vote on it.
Carolyn, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a comment similar to what Linda just said, but I'm also concerned that the schools in question are not paying the full cost. It's pretty close, but it's not the full cost, and I don't think it's fair for some citizens to actually be paying taxes for resource officers in other school districts. So for City of Pontiac people, you know, we're paying twice, and I don't think it's necessary. So for that reason, I'm not against it in principle. I hope that other schools will look into it if it's a good thing, but I do think they should pay the full freight.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
if I could tack on to what, or counter what Ms. Gerwin said, it's not the full price, but it's also not full-time. It's only during the school year, so we will get them almost 3 months. So it comes close.
Ready to vote? Yep. Okay. Roll
Vieti. Yes. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
No.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
No.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you run us through the same agreement for Tri-Point?
Yes, the same thing, and this is subject to the final review by the state's attorney on that one. Isn't that right, Mr. State's Attorney? Yes, okay. Any questions for Randy? He's here. I'll make a motion that one, second by Weller.
I'll second.
I think Bob, yeah,
Bob had-
that Bob got that. That's good. Thanks for stepping up. You ready to roll call it, Christie?
So was that Weller or Arbogast, the second?
Bob.
Okay,
Can't go wrong either way.
all righty. Vieti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
No.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Absolutely.
Gerwin.
No.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, the next is a resolution. The county coroner, Danny Watson, attended the meeting, and he gave us a copy of the state statute allowing coroners to affix in their vehicles red and white lights. Is that right, Alina? Red and white, not blue, red and white, because of their function of going to emergency situations, obviously, that require his attendance. And it's in the statute, it's okay. Mr. Yednek has agreed with that also as our state's attorney. And our committee recommends approval for that, for his vehicle.
A safety measure?
Safety measure.
Gotcha, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
is that just for the coroner, or is that for the deputy coroners as well?
The way the resolution is written right now, it is just for the coroner. I think I mentioned that we were supposed to talk about that at sheriff jail and license, and we didn't. So what is proposed as of right now is what the committee discussed at their regular committee meeting, which is just for the coroner. If the coroner chooses to come back and ask for the deputies to be added as well, it would be represented in November. But as of today, it's just for the coroner himself.
Yeah, Bob?
I believe the way the resolution is written, it says that therefore be it resolved by the County Board of Livingston County, Illinois, that the motor vehicle specified and identified below as follows. And there is quite a space there to list not only the coroner's vehicle or two, but the deputy's vehicles. And I assumed that that's what we're putting in there, is identifying each of those vehicles.
If you read just slightly further, and I guess I don't have it right in front of me, so I apologize. But if you read slightly further without having it in front of me, it also states that that vehicle, said vehicles being the vehicles of Danny Watson, the Livingston County coroner. So there, it's specifying that those are his vehicles. He hasn't provided me the vehicle information, and so that's why it's not included. I requested them the other day, and I don't have them yet, so that's why they're not there.
Maybe we need to rework that a little bit too then and say it's Danny Watson's vehicles and his
Sure, if
assistants.
that's what you want to do.
Because we're not going out and buying Danny Watson a fleet of vehicles.
Oh, no.
His deputies use their own vehicles.
Correct. He does too.
Yeah.
As I say, none of these are county-owned vehicles, are they?
They are not.
Okay.
But we're paying for the lights, right?
I'm sorry?
We're paying for the lights, right?
I'm sure.
Not to be well, I've got the floor, not to be a negative Nelly, but just because something's allowed doesn't mean it's necessary. Has there been something that's happened in the county that makes this necessary?
Address that. I chatted with Danny about that, and coming from law enforcement background myself, sometimes he or his deputies, but mainly he just told me about himself, he has to get there, multiple fatals on the highway, and there's traffic, and he's gotta get around. It's not like he's gonna do 90 mile an hour, but a safe way, and law enforcement who might be at the scene will see this approaching car coming with red and white, and they know it's the coroner coming, or someone with an official capacity, so, that's what he told me, so.
Here again, I mean, it's St. Chicago, and we don't have a lot of traffic, especially in the country. I didn't know if there was a specific instance that made this warranted or not.
Can't address that. He didn't give me a specific.
Mr. Chairman?
Just because it's allowed doesn't mean it's
Why don't we table this till we find out how many vehicles he wants? Because one place here, it talks about vehicles. On the third whereas, it's a designated vehicle, one vehicle. So why don't we find out from Danny how many he wants and then write this accordingly?
Ron, you made the motion, is that
Yeah, I can, we can table this. I'll withdraw that motion, and we'll talk with Danny and bring the whole thing in November. How would that be?
Okay, sounds good. All right. Carolyn, do you have a comment?
Under the statute, would it be possible to designate whoever the elected coroner is and his deputies, and not have it be a named person and a named vehicle?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so the resolution that was approved previously, it had that blank left in there. That way it could just be filled out. That way, if the coroner changed his vehicle, he didn't have to come back to the board for approval every time they did that. But they do have to have the resolution approved and signed off on in the specific vehicle, and the vehicle has to be listed on that resolution. So we can designate that, but technically, according to the statute, and Randy can respond if he wants to, but it specifically says that they have to have that, the vehicle has to be identified,
Like
and it
with a
has to
VIN
be
number?
actually in the vehicle, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, good with that. Ron, I think you got one more thing.
Got one more, please.
You sure do.
We also, at our meeting, approved raffle for Pontiac Sportsman's Club at St. Paul School. And tonight's action is for a liquor license application for a tavern called Dam Tavern. And that has been checked out. I'll make a motion to be approved.
Motion by Ron, is there a second? Second by Mr. Ritter.
Look at that.
Any questions or discussions in that regard?
Okay in a bar.
Okay, roll call vote.
Get that in the paper.
Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Lovell. Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Yes. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Mays?
Oh,
Mays.
sorry, yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young. Yes. Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ron. Good work. Election rules, Marty.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of things to come before the committee this evening. First is a standing rules amendment that was passed out at last month's meeting dealing with the committee structure change. Hopefully everybody's reviewed that and has had time to make a decision on that. And with that, I would go ahead and make a motion to approve that amendment change. Oh,
Alina, do you want to?
never mind, sorry, never mind.
Okay.
There's
So
no
we were gonna
action.
put this on,
Right.
normally what we do with the standing rules amendments is we give them to the board members 1 month, and then we
Yeah, it
wait
was this
until
month,
the
not
next
last
month
month.
to
I
actually vote
apologize.
on them. So we were presenting them to you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns,
Right.
please attend the elections committee meeting in November.
I was getting ahead of myself,
You
sorry.
just thought it was such a good idea, you wanted to get it.
No.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We do have a resolution recommending, with recommendation for reapportionment in 2021. Everyone should have that in front of them. Taking the number of board members down to 18 from 24. The pay would stay the same for all the board members. And I would make a motion to approve that resolution.
Is there a second? Pardon? Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy. Second by Arbogast. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, as Alina told me earlier, this is only an advisory vote, that the actual action will be taken on with the 220 board, 2020? 2021. So this is just an advisory vote.
Yes.
It says item 2.
Sound advice.
Piety. Bunning.
No.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
No.
Dyson. Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian. Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
No.
Lovell.
No.
Allen. Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
No?
Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
No.
Heath. Young.
No.
Yoder.
No.
Fannin.
Yes.
It's a tie.
Per day.
For day that you're in a meeting.
Meeting.
Tied.
So you only get one speech instead.
11-11, there you go. No extra innings. It's failed,
Is that
Mike.
resolution?
Our parliamentarian indicates that it failed.
Yes, that's true.
We want to save some money, not others.
Yep. I'd say the voters need to take notice of who voted no and that they're not looking to save any money for the county. Hey, take it how you want it.
Ooh. Finally says something.
Any other editorials?
Since we're making comments, I have one. I voted no because I think it's less representation for the people. You know, you would be representing a larger area. It's harder for people to come talk to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I feel the number is still too high.
Okay,
thank you,
well, good,
Kevin.
cool. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think I voted yes because I think we should cut the board, but on the companion issue that we're going to be voting on next month, I'm going to be voting no on that one because I think that, I agree that we should be cutting the committee sizes as well, but it should be done at the same, I feel it should be done at the same time that we cut the board and not, this should be one issue, not two different issues.
Okay, understood. Point well taken. Well, thank you, Marty.
Yep, nice try.
Information and technology, Miss Allen. Mrs. Allen.
Thank you. We met with John, who went over his department report. He indicated that Kate spent most of the month working on the county's webpage. Some of the templates that are on the current webpage are dated and cannot be upgraded. He also indicated they had been holding meetings with the assessor's office, the township assessors, and the zoning office to discuss the flow of building permits and what can be done to make the process more efficient. DevNet has a permitting and zoning application that could be added to our current system. The addition of the software will assist the zoning office in responding to the workflow with the reduction in staffing. The reason the topic was added to our agenda was because John has been frugal enough and gracious enough to allow the zoning office to utilize excess funds that are remaining within his budget. And that ends my report.
Any questions for Vicki? No. Okay, well, thank you very much. Personnel Committee, Kathy Arbogast.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a report. We already voted on it, so, and the
Okay.
consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
But thank you.
Well, that's all right. Thank you very much. VAC, Veterans Assistance Committee, Mr. Yoder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a short meeting Monday before last, and Tom Bailey, our superintendent, reported that he had recertified for his position by attending school. We paid the bills, and we are under budget for the year. And that ends my report.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Yoder? Hearing none, we'll move on. Bob, since you're here, would you like to report?
Well, no. But I have been absent pretty much this month. So Alina, does the administrative committee have anything to report that you can think of?
Mr. Chairman, you're putting me on the spot.
I know that, and I apologize, but I've done it before.
We actually do. On your desks is a memo from the administrative committee. It's regarding the enhancing governance training sessions, leadership series that we are encouraging board members to attend. It also lists the dates that those training sessions are going to be held. So please review that memo, and if for any reason you are not available or unable to commit to the days, and I will ask that administrative committee members also review this. There were a couple of changes to the dates, but if for whatever reason you're unable to commit or unavailable to attend, please contact Chairman Young as soon as possible to let him know that. The success of the series is really contingent upon having a good number of board members commit to that.
Thank you. Anything else, Bob?
That concludes my report, Mr. Schaefer.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's well done. Housing Authority, John Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a meeting on September 18th. We approved the 2019 budget. It's got a 5% increase in the staff salaries except for the executive director. Apparently they haven't had an increase in quite a while. The health insurance went up 3%. It's about a $1.2 million budget. It's about $35,000 in the positive, roughly $500,000 for administration costs, $380,000 for maintenance and operations costs, $175,000 for utility costs, and $89,000 for insurance and workman's compensation. And we'll be meeting again on November 15th. Thank you.
Any questions for John? No? Okay. Anybody with public comment?
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
I would like to apologize to this august body for my curt statement earlier.
Okay. Well, everybody's watching Supreme Court hearings now. Yes, Mike.
Just one quick thing. We went over and approved to put our budget on display, and the chairman at the Finance Committee, and again tonight, complimented Diane and the rest of the staff, Alina, for a job well done, and I would like to second that. But I'm one of the two counties representatives on the Vermilion Valley Emergency Telephone System Board, better known as 911, and the county provides, even though that's not a county organization anymore, it's broader, provides services, among them the financial, the bookkeeping, and the budgeting. And I will tell you, thanks to Diane and some of the board members, I don't want this to sound negative, but it's the first time in the existence of that organization where not only have we had a budget, we've had one every year, we also have a plan for capital replacement, in other words, setting aside money every year in the capital replacement or depreciation fund, and some other things that will make it much better going forward to predict where we're at. And as a result, the natural increases every year to all of the participants, including Livingston County, the largest, there's a provision in those contracts to hold the increase at CPI or less, and the increase will be less, at least 0.5 to 0.75% than the CPI because of, and to Diane especially, thanks for your help on behalf of the board in getting where we needed to be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, need a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
I'd make a motion that we go into executive session.
Just a minute.
Time out, one more comment. I
We I have asked Marty Fannin to make a real brief presentation. He was selected or volunteered to go on a trip to Washington, D.C. It was provided through funds at no cost to the county. It was provided by UCCI and the insurance carrier, and they paid for it. And I asked Marty if he would address it to the full board, and I apologize for not being here at the beginning to get that on, but if it's okay with you, Mr. Schaefer, can Marty give that report?
You bet.
I was lucky enough to attend a conference in Washington, D.C. With other county board members and actually some local law officials from the state of Illinois. We met with DHS, Department of Education, Department of Labor, Department of Transportation, the Undersecretary of Ag, and Ben Carson, the Secretary of HUD. What I came away with was that this administration believes in a federalist style government, which means if it can be done locally, it should be done locally. They believe that the federal government's too big and that we should be doing more locally. It was refreshing. They were very, very welcoming, very open. Know that there needs to be some changes, and I've got a big thing here, but I'm not going to go into all of it. But the conversations that we had with these undersecretaries and the secretary was very good. The Department of Transportation Anthony Bedell is actually coming to Illinois, and some of the issues that were addressed, not necessarily by us, but by Will County, he was like, he met with them after the meeting, got their information, and is going to meet with them when he comes to Illinois, and he should be in Illinois this month. So I just thought that was refreshing that, you know, they're willing to sit down, trade numbers, and meet with people when they come to Illinois, and I thought that was very refreshing. I'd never seen that before, or heard of that before. So I was very impressed when I went away, and was glad I went, and as the chairman said, at no cost to the county. So if anybody ever wants to hear a little bit more about what was told to me, I'd be more than willing to talk to you.
Over coffee and scone, Marty?
Right, there you go. Just happen to know a place.
What? Okay, all right. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Mr. Holt.
The executive session, 5 ILCS 120/2, C11, pending litigation.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Kathy Arbogast. Roll call.
Fietti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner. Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen. Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose.
Yes.
Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young. Yoder. Fannin. That's it.